Hi, and welcome to our EAL podcast. Today, we will be looking at the topic of staying safe at school during the COVID pandemic. Now, over to Robbie, who seems to be in a science lab.
Hi, Sam. As you can see, I'm in a science lab today. And the reason for that is been talking to some scientists, and they've been telling me that science is absolutely important when it comes to coronavirus or COVID-19 in terms of how we protect ourselves, how we stay safe, or how we even get out of this coronavirus. So one of the things that they were telling me about was face masks and why that is so important. So do you wear a face mask at times, Sam?
I do. I follow the regulations on face coverings. So I've got one here, and this one is a reusable face mask.
Reusable.
Which means I can wash it and use again. I don't have to throw it away after a single use. It's really handy.
So you can wash it.
What about you?
Wow. Yeah, well,
What about your face covering?
Yeah, the one I've been using, I bought a packet of them, to be honest, are these disposable face masks, which look a bit like that. They look a bit like something that you would maybe wear in a hospital. And it's kind of got 3 layers. It's very strong. You wear it like this, and goes over your nose, over your mouth, under your chin, and really very good at protecting you from catching the virus or protecting other people from catching it from you.
Brilliant. On the topic of face coverings, we've got a really good clip. I wonder if we could show that YouTube clip of a science guy who is going to explain all about face coverings. But since I've touched my face mask, I'm just going to sanitize my hands with this hand sanitizer.
I'm going to sanitize my hands with this hand sanitizer, which I keep in my bag when I'm going to work.
I also regularly wash my hands, but a hand sanitizer is a really handy way of washing hands if you don't have access to a tap and running water.
That's right. So we're going to go over to the science guy, and he's going to explain about the science behind face masks. So let's look at that.
Greetings everyone, Bill Nye here. Why do people in the scientific community want you to wear a face mask when you're out in public? Well, please consider the following. Face masks, like this one, prevent particles from my respiratory system from getting into the air and then into your respiratory system. Blocking the movement of air is an old trick. Here's a scarf. It blocks the movement of air around my throat, helps keep me warm. This scarf won awards in the Washington State Fair for both design and workmanship. It can block the movement of air, but only to a certain extent. This is a homemade face mask. It has just 2 layers of cloth with a pipe cleaner sewn in to help it fit against the bridge of your nose. And it blocks the movement of air very effectively. If you're wearing one of these, you're protecting yourself and those around you.
Wow, that was very interesting. So, a lot of interesting vocabulary that the science guy came up with there. Do you have anything you can say about that, Sam?
Yeah, I think it was really a great experiment showing how face coverings block and restrict the flow of air particles.
Yeah, and the way he showed that by blowing out a candle was very, 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 very useful, because when he wore the scarf, he could blow out the candle, but when he wore the face mask, he couldn't blow out the candle, which was really interesting.
Absolutely. It was really a very good visual way of showing how important face coverings are. And he was also referring to homemade face coverings.
Yeah.
Can you think of another way we can use that expression? homemade?
Yeah, I mean, homemade is an expression that we use a lot. Like if you're cooking, you can have a homemade cake, you know, or baking, sorry. Or if you're cooking, you can have a homemade meal. And so in this case, he's talking about homemade masks. And I think that's very interesting because it shows that people can make their own masks if
Absolutely.
buy them. So which is brilliant. There's some other interesting words that he came up with, Sam, to do with preventing the virus. But you know a bit more about that than me.
Well, yeah, he used the word protect, and he was saying how by restricting the flow of particles with face coverings, we protect others against the COVID virus.
And he talked about blocking the.
Yes,
Is that right?
that's another word meaning restricting or stopping or preventing.
It's interesting because it's kind of like words you would even use like in football or whatever, like when you're blocking a player or you're protecting the goalkeeper or defending the goal. So these words get used in other contexts as well as in science.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So the other thing that we were going to do, is, apart from the science guy, is we're going to look at some photos about what people are doing, which is good to stop the virus. And
Yeah.
first photo are these girls in class. Can you tell us a bit about this photo, Sam?
It's a very good example of how you can protect others in your class by wearing face covering. So clearly on this photo, the young people who are in that class are following the guidance on face coverings by wearing them in class.
Fantastic. And now we're going to look at another photo which shows a crowd of people taking photos. And
That's right.
What's going on in this picture, Sam? Come on, tell us a bit about it.
Well, as you can see, there is a large group of people, but the problem is they are really close next to each other.
Yes, I can see that.
Which means that they are not following social distancing, which means staying apart. And the guidance is to stay 2 meters apart. So clearly on this photo, the crowd are not following the social distancing. And you can also see that some people are wearing face coverings, but some are not.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the ideal kind of gathering right now under the COVID-19. And that's possibly one of the reasons why we've had pressure towards maybe another lockdown as well, because people aren't.
That's true.
They're not sticking to the rules.
That's true. No, I think it's really important that we stick to the rules and to protect ourselves. And I think you've got a really interesting infographic for us showing what to do if people start showing symptoms.
This infographic is from NHS Scotland. And what we've done is we've made it into a short video to look at how many days you need to stay home if you're on your own, or how many days you need to stay home if you're in a family, if you need to self-isolate or stay at home. So that's what that infographic is.
Yeah, that's another word that has been used a lot on the news, self-isolating.
Yeah, which means basically to stay at home.
Yes.
Stay away from others. So that infographic will come later on, and there'll be a quiz with that, and so fantastic. So I think that's us finished for today with the podcast.
Thanks for today, Robbie.
This infographic is from